Good afternoon and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Defining Virtuosity. I'm Odin Rathman, Professor of Violin at Cleveland State University, and today I'm going to continue our foray into the Wohlfahrt studies with number 17, marked Moderato Assai. Essentially, this is a study of arpeggios with various rhythms that force us to learn some different string crossings and rhythm patterns. It also requires that we consider the amount of bow speed we use on any rhythmic value held in the bow so that we can distribute the bow in an efficient manner. I would suggest that on the first eighth note of each measure we use a faster bow, and then a somewhat but not too broad détaché for the semiquavers, the 16th notes that follow, and that we then come into the bridge for the half notes so that the bow speed is slower. So essentially what we're going from is a faster bow speed to a slower bow speed to an even slower bow speed in each measure. You can practice this with open strings if you like, just to understand the concept, but very soon I would suggest making sure that we put the two hands together. In the left hand, similarly, while we very soon want to put the two hands together, I would again encourage the student of the etude to practice slurs by the half bar. So I'll get my fiddle. This means that for the purpose of left hand training, the various types of training that lead up to being able to count on the actions of the left hand can be, and are not limited to, stopping the bow between the strokes to drop the next finger, so that you are very conscious of the dropping of the second finger, the crossing, the dropping of the third finger on the new string, and the lifting to expose the first finger on the E string. But these actions are all clear and isolated, with as little motion down here or in the shoulder or anywhere else, or in the wrist or in the thumb as possible. All of them sort of sleeping. After breaking the actions down that simply, you can chain bow, which can lead to two-note slurs, four-note slurs, and then my preferred way to really sort of focus on the left hand, which is simply bowing by the half bar. Here again, those four notes could be all on one string. So you'll see that I sometimes substitute the fourth finger for that reason, so that a group of 4/16ths would be on the same string. Sometimes it's fine not to have that be the case. Your taste and comfort will help dictate which you choose there. Now, once we've sort of got the gist of the left hand worked out so that we can count on it, we should immediately start coordinating. And again, having pauses between the strokes helps. So we can start with a martelé, pointed martelé at the tip, and a four count. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, three, four. This way we'll learn the bow distribution of a longer stroke and the slower bow speed with the closer sounding point to the bridge for the long held note, which we should also remember to vibrate. Now, this can also be practiced reversed, and it's very helpful. So in other words, you can practice an up bow martelé, collets here, and a long stroke, a martelé, collets, and a long stroke, a martelé, collets, 2, 3, 4, 1, etc., etc. Sorry about that wrong note. But that trains us to do the reverse bowing pattern where we have the fastest stroke, slower strokes, the slowest one. Yeah? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very, very, very good way to count that out. It's an 8 count. You know that you have to make the bow last for a 4 count through the other, so you have to save at the beginning of that bow. Having practiced that in both directions, I would just say that all of these are principles to train, to go to the extremes of the bow. We can practice half bow martelés, whole bows, halves, bridge, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the things that I'm being very careful to monitor is that I don't feel a difference in tension level in my body when I'm holding the longer note than when I'm executing the shorter ones. So that our ability to create the more concentrated sound here that doesn't make us tighter anywhere. Finally, when this has been practiced a lot this way, I still believe all of these should be treated as pieces of music. We can get away from worrying whether we're at the extreme tip or at the extreme frog and think linearly. Just create shapes and lines. Cross planes before executing strokes. Always prepare whatever plane your 8th note down bow is going to be on that plane at the very end of the previous up bow. And pay attention to the relationship of the end of an up bow to the beginning of a down bow, that you have the ability from the 5 actions of the right hand to pivot, to have your arm already on the correct plane, and to use the control of the pinky to gently allow the bow tip weight to bring you to the new string, but not to go past it and not to go too hard into the string, so that we're really in control of the beginning of that down bow, and that when it happens, when we do this pivot, that the angle doesn't go this way or that way too much, that it stays pretty much at right angles to the string during the pivot. That's very important to monitor with a mirror or with your eyes looking right at the sounding point. So So here again, the bow is basically doing brakes on coming into the bridge for the up bows. Then again, I'll demonstrate. This we do a couple of different ways we can bring the bow into the bridge. We can use the control of the fingers themselves for angles, but we can also back up the arm inward if we're doing an up bow. And if we're out here and we want to come to, into the bridge, we can also go a little bit out to draw it in quickly to the bridge that way and then correct. I believe that strokes should be perpendicular to the string, at 90 degrees to the string, but we can use angles to bring us away and closer to the bridge. If you go one way, you'll see the bow will slip this way. If you go the other way, it'll tend to go into the bridge. The reverse is true on an up bow. If you go this way, you'll go away from the bridge. If you go on an up bow inward, you'll draw the bow into the bridge. So you can do some experiments with long notes, experimenting with your angles, to see how good your control can become manipulating the sound point that way. We can also do it simply by the position of our arm. This sort of feeling of drawing a bow and arrow string in with your right hand brings us closer to the bridge. That's what I mean when I tell you to back up your arm a little bit. It's sort of similar to pulling a string back on a bow and arrow, so that we get a closer sounding point to the bridge, which is very desirable. By controlling that, we can really manage these long notes without any increased tension in the bow arm. So again, we begin with martelets, string crossings before strokes so that you're on the new plane prepared, all of that good stuff. And then in the end, we remember that it's a piece of music. So when you are getting towards the end of your study of this etude, make sure that you also approach the piece artistically and think about your lines, respond to the harmonies that you see in the music. For example, I stopped at those dominant seventh chords that resolve to D major. For me, a dominant chord has more tension than the tonic when we're home. So I would tend to release the sound there. Now, B major, 7 chord, going into E minor. So this is a different harmony. You can have even more. Now we're back to D major. Now, because he repeats the idea, I might do a softer version of that. Now, interestingly, he does 3 harmonies before the cadence. And you could ask yourself, which of those has the most harmonic tension for you? For me, and then we're back to our recapitulation. There, I like to have the students practice a re-grab with the F sharp, and then to broaden the stroke to create the cadence at the ending. So we would have as it comes, as as it comes, hooked, and then extra resistance in the string, and draw a little circle, little stroke. So. There is Wohlfahrt study number 17. I hope this tutorial helps. Please subscribe to my page, like and share, and if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.